In this week's video, I want to talk to you about falling mortgage rates. If you've been following the mainstream media over the past few days or the past week or so, you could be excused for forgiving that this crash is well and truly over. Mortgage rates are plummeting and everyone's going to start buying expensive houses again and getting massive mortgages. But as we spoke about in last week's video, we knew that 2024 was going to be painful for us buyers that have been patient. We knew that there was going to be an influx from the mainstream media trying to convince us that everything's fine and this is all over. And we've already seen that in the first week of 2024 with some of the mortgage providers cutting their rates last week. We've seen, well, stories absolutely everywhere. I'm sure you guys that are sitting on the sidelines will probably find it quite frustrating seeing these mortgage rates heading back down. So in this video, I want to talk about some of the truths that the media aren't covering when it comes to mortgage rates. So the first thing, when they're talking about mortgage rates coming down, you have to ask, who are these mortgage rates coming down for? Over the past year or two, we've seen lots of people remortgage off much lower interest rates onto the higher rates that we saw over 2022 and 2023. And as we've gone into 2024, they've dropped down to maybe, well, the lowest ones at the moment are just below 4%. So anyone that's getting these 4% mortgages are still seeing a doubling of the rates that they've been used to paying. If they've been paying 2% over the past few years, they're still seeing their interest payments double. So when people talk about falling mortgage rates, you have to put it into that context. Who is actually saving any money? Now, there are going to be some people who last year decided to go onto a standard variable rate and probably paying 7-8% for the year, who will have remortgaged recently or are thinking about remortgaging, who are going to see their payments come back down. But for the vast majority of homeowners, their payments are still going to be going up, and I think over the next year there are over 100,000 people per month that are going to be remortgaging from lower rates. So that's the first thing to keep in mind, is that actually mortgage rates aren't coming down for anyone. They're still going up, they're just not going up quite as much as they were in 2023. The other thing to keep in mind with mortgage rates is that they aren't available to everyone. Just because there's a 4% deal out there, that's for someone maybe who's got a 60% loan to value. So that's not available to absolutely everyone. And what we saw in 2023 was many people had to remortgage with their current provider, because if they switched to a new provider, they wouldn't pass the affordability checks, where the affordability checks are usually waived if you remortgage with your existing provider. So there might be great deals out there, but because their payments are still going to be going up and they won't pass the new affordability checks, actually people can't get these lower deals that are out there. So that's two things that they aren't covering in the mainstream media at the moment. And the third thing that they're not talking about, and this is probably the biggest takeaway from this video, is the falling mortgage rates are being spun as like this heroic act of mortgage providers stepping in to save the housing market. Now ask yourself this, in this capitalist society that we live, do you think any of these big banks or mortgage lenders have any interest in your well-being? No. They are cutting rates for one simple reason. At the moment, they are not generating enough business. They are struggling to lend. So this so-called mortgage war at the moment is a reflection of how slow the housing market is, and that lenders basically can't give their money away. So they're having to slash rates. This is like the clearest indicator that the housing market is struggling. Yet it's reported in completely the opposite way. Now, actually, I don't mind interest rates coming down a bit, because like you guys, I'm on the sidelines waiting to buy at some point, either for myself or I may buy investments, I haven't decided yet. And a lower mortgage rate will help when the time comes, so that's a good thing. And also, you need liquidity. You need the transactions to take place. People have to buy and sell houses all the way up and all the way down when there is a price rise and a price decrease. If you take something like Bitcoin throughout 2021 and 2022, when it started falling in value, people were still buying it all the way down. And the only way that something comes down in value is that people are transacting at the different stages. Someone's going to be much more reluctant to accept, I don't know, a 20% decrease in the value of their property. But if they've already seen someone else take a 10% hit, it has that laddering effect. It kind of has that stepping stone effect, and people work down gradually. So we need transactions, we need liquidity, and you know, a 4% mortgage rate for some people will help that. And hopefully, if you guys are on the sidelines, it will help you save a lot of money when you do come to buy, because ultimately there's no point house prices coming down massively if when you come to buy you're paying even more because of interest. So sometimes it's better to pay a little bit more for the house on a much lower interest rate. So keep that in mind as well. So I just wanted to put these thoughts for you guys together today so you could see some of the media stories in the way that I'm seeing them, and try not to overreact and be panicked into buying straight away, which is what some people are going to do, because there's a lot of this being forced down our throats at the moment. That's going to continue over the next couple of months, as we spoke about in last week's video. Now, one thing that also happened last week was Halifax announced their house price index for 2023. And I think they said that house prices actually went up last year, which I found absolutely staggering that they said that. But then again, we know from previous videos that we can't really fully trust these house price indices either. Now, on the back of that, I actually ran a Twitter poll, and I'll pop up the results in front of me. And over 80% of respondents, and there was over 1,000 people replied to this Twitter poll, over 80% of respondents said that they didn't believe that what they saw in the HPIs from Halifax, Nationwide, ONS, Rightmove, etc. reflected what was truly happening in their local area. So that says an awful lot, and also an awful lot about how much attention we should be paying to these house price indices. They get covered by the mainstream media. Now, if you want to see why these house price indices are broken, I'm going to pop up the video now, and I'll see you guys over there.